What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I wanted to try out a Melmetal team in the Open Great League. This pick started out as a bit of a meme. I didn't know if it was going to be good or not, but having the Thundershock buff, I was kind of intrigued, and today a lot of trainers were actually very weak to this Pokemon. I don't know if it's actually a good pick, but I know that Double Iron Bash, if it ever gets a buff in the future, might make Melmetal a very strong Pokemon in the Open Great League. Before we get into the battles, I just want to say if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton, but let's get into the battles and see what Melmetal can do. All right, getting into game number one, Melmetal in the lead up against a Shadow Feraligatr. A very good lead matchup, but we have to keep in mind this Pokemon does have a lot of damage. We might have to shield our Melmetal just because they are able to reach these Hydro Cannons so quickly. I also have to throw a Superpower if I want to do any sort of charge move damage against them, knowing that our Double Iron Bash would be resisted and Superpower is going to debuff our stats. So this matchup might get a little uncomfortable depending on what our opponent is going to do. In comes the Superpower, our opponent opting to let it go. We get the knockout actually, and in comes a Talonflame, a Pokemon with a lot of fire type damage. But we have to keep in mind we might have Rock Slide, right? They don't know that our moveset does not have Rock type damage. Maybe they do, I guess. They end up no-shielding the attack, which is a little bit of a waste of energy, but we are chipping down this Talonflame just bit by bit. In comes a charge move here. I will shield it up. I think a Brave Bird is very likely. Very good thing I did shield that. It would have basically one-shot us here. And in comes a Morpeko of all things. This is honestly looking very good right now. As long as I can knock out this Morpeko, we should be in a good spot. But there's a chance of running Seed Bomb. Maybe that's why they brought it in here. They do absorb that first Aqua Tail, the second one coming through. Momentarily, our opponent is going to let it go and invest everything right now into their Talonflame. This is going to be an interesting endgame here. I can reach another Aqua Tail. We are very close to a move on our Melmetal as well, and we might be able to swap out, catch a move, and if they throw a Fly or a Brave Bird, our Melmetal will resist that damage. In comes the charge move, we make the catch. Our opponent is going to opt to go for the Fly, a move that does not knock us out. We reach the Double Iron Bash. It won't do a lot of damage, but it likely will draw the last shield or put them into easy fast move farm damage. Our opponent does opt to shield it up, and now our Mandibuzz in the backline should be able to close out this game with fast move pressure and potentially even just reaching an air release here in just a second. Our opponent does throw a charge move, but it's too little too late at this point. Even if they have a Brave Bird, it's not going to knock us out. They need two charge moves against us, and even then, Mandibuzz might even survive the Fly. It's going to be very close, but at this point, we still have a Shadow Quagsire as well. In comes the Fly. We do survive it, and we farm them all the way down. GG's to them. Next game, Melmetal in the lead up against a Shadow Feraligatr. Once again, actually, I'm going to see if I can play out this matchup the same way. It was really nice that I could go for the Superpower, basically one-shot them and take out all that energy, but this time, it looks like it's a little bit bulkier than the last one here, right? They are taking a little bit less damage from these Thunder Shocks. There's a chance they might survive this attack, which could be a little bit unfortunate. Hydro Cannon does end up getting shielded. Superpower is going to be thrown, and if they end up letting this go, there's a chance that we knock them out, but there's a chance they survive. They do survive on 1 HP. We make the catch with our Mandibuzz and get an Air Slash through to try to snipe down all of this health. In comes the Hydro Cannon. They are going to end up going down to that fast move, and once again, a Talonflame is going to come in here. Mandibuzz is a very bulky Pokemon, but we have to keep in mind up energy and down shields. A Talonflame is going to be very hard for our team to overcome. I'm going to go for the Dark Pulse here to try to draw a shield or get as much damage as we can. We do draw a shield, which is a little bit helpful here, but they have so much energy. I don't know if I can survive a charge move from this range. We are going to survive with almost no health if we do, but I don't know if we can. Oh, we do. Mandibuzz able to get to the air release as well, which could be very helpful for us right now. We have a lot of energy on that Melmetal, and we might be able to finish off this game if we can come in here, go for a Double Iron Bash, and potentially knock out this Pokemon. Unfortunately, I did end up lagging a turn on entry, so I only could throw one Thunder Shock here. If I could have gone for two, that might have been a little bit better. In the back, I'm going to be a Gastrodon, a Pokemon that could be a little bit tricky for us to deal with, but I know at this point, two Aqua Tails are going to come very close to knocking them out here. First Aqua Tail is going to end up landing. They don't have any shields left. Second Aqua Tail going to follow soon after here. Opponent throwing a charge move. I can either try to call an Earth Power bait or a Body Slam. I call it. Unfortunately, they do full send here, which means a lot of health going down from our Shadow Quagsire. This is not looking great right now, but we have to keep in mind our Melmetal does have a bit of energy. We can't quite Thundershock this down, unfortunately. I do have to throw a charge move, and because our Melmetal is so close to an attack, we might be able to win this game, but we might just barely not. That Mudslap does a lot of damage to us, and unfortunately, because we were not able to reach that other move, not able to win that game, that one Thundershock we missed out on is going to lose us the match. GG's to them, though. Next game, a Shadow Alolan Sandslash, the inferior Steel-type Pokemon. We have the real one right here that resists these that powder stone damage from our Shadow Alolan Sandslash here, and we also have access to Superpower, which is going to outpace and potentially one-shot them. We can also just bait with a Double Iron Bash as well if we want to be a little bit cheeky about it here and shield up a potential move. It could be a Drill Run, but they end up baiting the Ice Punch here. Good play by them, and now I'm going to full send the Superpower at this point. I know there's no real reason to bait at this point. I just want to full send, make sure I can either knock them out or get a shield. They let it go. It knocks out the Alolan Sandslash here, and in comes a Shadow Feraligatr. This Pokemon can be a little bit scary to deal with, but I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of damage to go here, and in comes a Superpower. Does a lot to this Gator. I can reach a Double Iron Bash as well. Our opponent might not know the counts. Are they going to end up shielding this move, or do they let it go? They opt to shield it up. A double debuff, double Iron Bash would not have done too much damage here. Our opponent has to throw energy to KO our Melmetal. Melmetal putting in so much work against the opponent's team. We have our Mandibuzz that can absorb a lot of this damage, potentially farm them down, and then Shield Advantage Shadow Quagsire should be a very strong pick in the backline. In comes a charge move here. We can survive this potentially. Ice Beam would do a lot, but I'm expecting double Hydro Cannon here because our opponent likely wants to try to get 2 moves off if they can, which is exactly what they end up doing. Hydro Cannon number 2 does come through. It does a lot of damage, not quite enough to knock us out, but in the backline gonna be a Corsola, a Pokemon that obviously Dark Pulse is super effective against, but our Shadow Quagsire is gonna have to try to finish this off later on. But we have a shield advantage. Corsola is also chipped down. I don't think there's any way Corsola is going to be able to win this game. All I have to do is get to 2 Aqua Tails here and then farm down that Feraligatr after the fact. Nightshade is going to get shielded up. I'm about at double Aqua Tail. I have one ready. I'm at the other one right now as well. So once we can land the second one, it should be able to win us this game. Aqua Tail number 1 does not quite knock them out. I could have just gone for a Stone Edge, I guess, here, but it's still fine. The next Aqua Tail is ready as well. It knocks them out, and now we can Mudshot down the Shadow Feraligatr and take the win. All right, Diggersby in the lead, a terrible lead matchup. We're going to try to chip and dip this with a superpower, but our fast moves are doing nothing, and they have a lot of super effective charge move pressure against us. Their quick attacks are not doing too much, but it's going to be the Scorching Sands and the Fire Punches that we have to be worried about. We're going to swap out to our Shadow Quagsire that do throw energy against us. Likely a Scorching Sand's going to come through, hopefully no debuff. Scorching Sands does end up doing almost half of our health, and in comes an Annihilape. This Pokemon is very tricky to deal with, but we have a lot of energy on Shadow Quagsire. We have a Mandibuzz in the backline as well. That might be able to deal with this, and in comes an Aqua Tail. The next one is going to follow suit very shortly after, but our opponent is going to CMP with a Rage Fist. I don't really want to shield this because if I end up shielding this attack, then I know our Mandibuzz is going to have to no-shield a boosted either Close Combat or Ice Punch, so we're just going to come in here and try our best with our Mandibuzz to farm this all the way down. Unfortunately, they are able to reach a charge move at the last second. I'm right now just going to bank in the fact that there's a chance our Melmetal can sweep. In comes the final Pokemon. It's going to be a Shadow Drapion, a Pokemon we do have a lot of play into, but I don't know what they're going to do with this Diggersby that they have in the backline. I have a lot of energy here, though. We saw how much damage the first superpower did. I'm going to throw the second, see if this can knock them out. Does not quite, but we have a double Iron Bash as well ready to go. We have so much play against the Drapion, but we are debuffed right now. Our opponent is going to opt to shield this attack up, and in comes a charge with likely a Fire Punch here, but I will have to shield it up. Our opponent did throw all of their energy against the Shadow Quagsire as well, so they didn't have too much energy in this matchup specifically, and I cannot farm them down. I have to go for yet another double Iron Bash, but they have to shield this if they want to keep their Diggersby around. In comes the double Iron Bash. They end up getting knocked out here, and I just have to try to drain all of this energy on Mandibuzz, hopefully reach an Air Release and knock out this Shadow Drapion with a lot of charge moves here. Sludge Bomb ends up coming through. It does a lot of damage to us. I didn't realize they'd have Sludge Bomb on this thing. It is not running Aqua Tail, but because we survived with 1 HP, that's the best case scenario. We can reach another double Iron Bash here. I think we can outpace them before they can reach 2 crunches. This double Iron Bash is going to end up landing, putting them into range where we can Thundershock down and take the win there. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, Melmetal up against an Azumarill in the lead. One of the best leads we could see, but honestly a little bit more awkward than I'd like it to be, just because they have a lot of neutral bubble fast move pressure. And in comes a Drapion as a safe swap, a non-Shadow Drapion at that. Very interesting stuff. Superpower is going to be doing a massive amount of damage to them here, and now Shadow Quagsire should be able to either farm them down or knock them out with an Aqua Tail after the fact. Crunch is not going to do too much damage from this non-Shadow Drapion. I am a little concerned about what the backline Pokemon could be. They CMP us with an Aqua Tail here, which is a little annoying. Maybe I should have overfarmed a little bit, but I can go for a full undercharge here, maybe get even more energy coming out of this matchup and having a lot more play. Aqua Tail is going to end up landing against this Drapion, but they are going to be in perfect farm down range right before they get to another Aqua Tail. We are able to farm them down and go for a Stone Edge potentially against this Azumarill. Stone Edge is going to be the highest damaging charge move that we have against this Azu on the entire team, so we should be in a very good spot once we can land this move and then absorb all of the energy with our Melmetal. What's going to be in the backline, though, that's the big question. Our opponent not swapping out just yet. They're throwing a charge move against us, likely a Play Rough, but if it is a Hydro Pump, that could do a ton of damage to our Steel-type Pokemon. Fortunately, it does not look like they have it here, and now just overfarm. I guess they top left. They don't have any answer to our Melmetal. Love to see it. Good stuff. All right, Serperior in the lead. Honestly, not the best lead matchup, despite we resist all the fast move pressure. They have a lot of just very efficient moves here. We are using resisted fast moves of our own, and double Iron Bash is not the most efficient charge move, which means that this is going to be a little bit more awkward than I'd like it to be. But I think that Melmetal can't always consistently win the Zero Shield matchup. In comes the Frenzy Plant. It does a massive amount of damage to us, but not quite enough to two-shot us yet. And in comes a Shadow Drapion as a safe swap. We have our Quagsire for this, and we're going to try our best to whittle this down with Mudshot damage and with Aqua Tails. In comes the Crunch. It does a lot of damage to us. I'm going to go for the Stone Edge. I know at this point it would have to land if I want to get a knockout. An Aqua Tail would not quite be enough here. Stone Edge ends up getting no shield. They tried to call a bait. Unfortunately for them, I do full send it, but their Serperior can get a pretty nasty farm down against us. With that said, I do have access to a Mandibuzz here that can absorb all of this energy and hope that their backline matchup is not going to be too bad for our Melmetal. In terms of charge move here, likely going to be Frenzy Plant. That is the more efficient move to throw. Yeah, they do throw Frenzy here. And in the backline, going to be a Morpeko. This is not looking good. I'm going to try to cheese out a victory, go instantly for the superpower here. Our opponent is going to opt to shield it up. Unfortunately, that is not what we want to see. I was trying to knock them out just through a shield with that superpower. They probably were expecting it, I guess. They ended up shielding it up and going for a Psychic Fangs. Now, this is looking so bad. They do reach another Psychic Fangs as well. I might be able to survive this, though, despite being at -2 defense, because we do resist Psychic type damage, and we are able to reach another superpower against this Morpeko. This will likely either draw a shield or come close to knocking them out if they let it through. This Morpeko ends up shielding, and now our Mandibuzz has a lot of work to do. We know that Serperior is in the backline, but these Thunder Shocks are doing a ton of damage. I'm going to no-shield, try to call a Psychic Fangs bait. Our opponent is going to full send the Aura Wheel and knock out our Mandibuzz. Very unfortunate stuff there. GG's to them, though. All right, next game here, Dewgong in the lead. Fantastic lead matchup, but we have to keep in mind they do have super effective drill run damage that could put in a lot of work against us. With that said, we have super effective Thunder Shock and also Superpower, which is going to do a lot of damage to them. Potentially, in comes a double Iron Bash bait. Our opponent is going to try to no-shield it. We didn't go for the Superpower, which means they actually no-shield the proper move, and now in comes a drill run. This attack would do a lot of damage. I'm going to shield it up because they are staying in this matchup, which makes me think they might be a little bit scared of our Melmetal in the backline. Superpower is going to be thrown now. It's going to do a massive amount of damage if they happen to let it through. Our opponent, though, this time properly shielding it up, but we are able to just barely reach another superpower before they can reach another drill run. This is going to be debuffed, but it still is going to do a lot of damage. The Dewgong does not quite get knocked out here, but it is very close. I can come in and either farm down with my Mandibuzz or our Shadow Quagsire, and at this point, we have eliminated one of the worst answers to our Mandibuzz in the back. In comes our Quagsire. We have an energy lead here. What is going to come in to try to farm us down? It's going to be Shadow Driftblim, actually, that comes in here. A Pokemon that we could either one-shot with a Stone Edge or go for a bait against. I'm going to call that they're going to call our bait, go straight for the nuke. Our opponent is going to shield it up, though. Unfortunately, a lot of energy down the drain, and now they have so much energy on this thing. They can reach a lot of Icy Winds and potentially knock us out just with fast move pressure after the fact. Icy Wind number 1 is going to be thrown. Icy Wind number 2 is going to come through in just a second, but I have no idea what's going to be in the backline with the way they're playing out this game. In comes the Icy Wind. They are going to put us very low, and now we can reach a Dark Pulse in just a second here, as long as they don't catch. Yeah, no catch is going to come through, but they have double debuffed us. I don't think this is going to be quite enough to knock them out. No, just barely not. They are outside of fast move farm down range as well, and they swap out to their final Pokemon. It's actually going to be a Primeape here. They were able to store some energy on that Driftblim. I think they have an Icy Wind loaded, but I can swap out here, save our Mandibuzz, and potentially have a chance here this game. Unfortunately, they are able to reach a Rage Fist here, and because of that, I will have to shield it up. I just have to hope at this point that maybe we can tie this game. That is my best win condition at this point, or my best hope at having any chance, is to go for the tie, knock out this Primeape as quick as we can, go for fast move pressure against this Driftblim, and as long as we don't lag a turn, it should be a simul KO in the backline. In comes the Ice Wind. It does knock out a Shadow Quagsire, but our Mandibuzz able to come in and at the very least get the simul KO against that backline there. GG's to our opponent. They played that very well. Driftblim calling our bait perfectly. GG's to them. Oh, that is a terrible lead. That's an Annihilape. Not what we want to see. Shadow Quagsire going to come in here. Our opponent staying in for just a second, though. Interesting stuff. I'm surprised they're not swapping out. Must not have a hard answer to our water and ground type Pokemon. In comes the Aqua Tail. Does a ton of damage, and our opponent instantly throwing a Rage Fist. This is fine. I know I can survive this, and I know that I can get a shield advantage here as long as I'm going to be able to go for another Aqua Tail before they swap out. Our opponent does not try to catch this move. This is going to do a massive amount of damage, likely drawing a shield from this ape. With that said, they are boosted with their attack stat right now, which means that they are going to be able to go for boosted ice punches or close combats against our Mandibuzz. I'm just hoping there's going to be a lot of play for a Melmetal later on this game. We'll have to see how our opponent is going to play this one out. In comes a charge of, actually, no, they end up instantly swapping out here to an Azumarill, a Pokemon that is very good for a Melmetal, but we have to keep in mind they have a lot of energy on that Annihilape, and I have no idea what the final Pokemon might be. It seems like they are a little bit scared of Melmetal, though, because they did bait it back out here and save a lot of HP on their Annihilape, which means I want to have as much energy as possible coming out of this match. In comes the first double Iron Bash. It doesn't do all that much damage. It's only neutral damage. Unfortunately, it's not being super effective against the Fairy type because the Water type counteracts that, but we can spam them out so very quickly. In comes the next double Iron Bash here. Our opponent not quite in range where the next one would knock out, but after some extra Thunder Shock damage, it might just be enough. In comes the next Play Rough or Ice Beam potentially against us. Yeah, Ice Beam is going to be thrown. Double Iron Bash once again going to be spammed out against this Azumarill, and these Thunder Shocks hopefully will be enough to knock them out with fast move pressure. Our opponent is going to let the farm down happen, it looks like, which is good because now we have 2 charge moves in case that Annihilape comes back in. We can throw one after another, knock out this fighting type Pokemon, and maybe have a chance if we can land a charge move against whatever the final Pokemon's going to be. In comes the Rage, we shield it up. We have all this energy though. If they end up shielding themselves, we can go for another double Iron Bash. Your opponent ends up letting it go, and it's a Dewgong in the backline. This is fantastic. We can reach 2 superpowers here. We can also clear the debuff if we need to. In comes the first superpower. They let it go, and at this point, I see the clear win condition. We store a double Iron Bash. All we have to do now is whittle down this Dewgong into a range where we can knock them out with Dark Pulse or potentially Air Slash damage. Our opponent is going to throw an Icy Wind. It will be doing super effective damage, but not quite enough here to knock us out just yet. They need to throw a second charge move if they want any chance, and now Dark Pulse is going to come through, do a lot of charge move pressure against this Dewgong, and put them into farm down range if they let it go. Our opponent does opt to let it go here. Obviously, they knew I would have a superpower in the backline, so they did have to no-shield that Dark Pulse. They knock out our Mandibuzz, but we can Thundershock all the way down, getting a full sweep with our Melmetal that game. GG's to our opponent. That is the power of this Pokemon. In the next game here, we're going to see a Serperior in the lead, a very neutral lead matchup, as we have seen in the past. It is a little bit annoying, though, to waste our Melmetal in a matchup where I know they likely are weak to it in the backline, and we have a Mandibuzz that would be much better against the Serperior, but our Shadow Quagsire is going to be happy that it gets to avoid this matchup. That Frenzy Plant does so much damage to us here. That is so unfortunate. Melmetal is not the bulkiest Pokemon out there. Resisted charge moves doing quite a bit of our health, but we are still going to be able to survive the next one, reach 2 superpowers here potentially, and knock out the Serperior in the Zero Shield matchup. Frenzy does end up doing a lot of damage. We can actually reach a double Iron Bash and then a superpower to stall out how long we're going to be debuffed in this matchup. Double Iron Bash comes through, superpower going to come through right after, and hopefully either draw a shield or knock out the Serperior. Once this is out of the way, I'm hoping that our Shadow Quagsire is going to have just a little bit more wiggle room. Our opponent does come in with a Shadow Drapion, and since I knew there was a Serperior in the lead, I'm going to come in with our Mandibuzz, knowing this is likely going to be our best matchup that we have with it this game. They have so much energy. They swap out, though, into a Dewgong, and this is going to be a very tight endgame here. I have to try to call a bait here properly. I need to go for an Aqua Tail or straight land a Stone Edge before they can get debuff off. I'm going to go for the bait. Our opponent has a 50-50 call to make, and they call the bait. Fantastic play by them, but that's terrible for us because now we're going to have almost no damage against this thing. We needed to land that Stone Edge so bad or get the bait, but neither ended up happening, and now we have almost no energy on our Quagsire. This is looking so bad. In comes the Icy Wind. It will start debuffing our attack as well. We can reach a Stone Edge in just a second, but our opponent throws at the last second themselves, which means this matchup is almost completely over. With that said, maybe I can get another bait with an Aqua Tail. Maybe I can bank an Aqua Tail to make a combo play against the Shadow Drapion later on. I don't know if that's a win condition, but maybe there's a chance for us. I'm going to try our best to go for a Dark Pulse, but unfortunately they can CMP us on this Icy Wind, which will do a lot of damage and debuff our attack stat. I do have a shield left over, though. I will shield up this move because I know at this point I kind of have to start shielding something in this game. Dark Pulse coming through right now, and our opponent is able to survive pretty comfortably thanks to that debuff. If they were not able to get that debuff first, we probably would have knocked them out by now, but they do at the last second reach yet another Icy Wind, and they still have their Shadow Drapion with a lot of energy and quite a bit of health. We have an Aqua Tail in the backline on our Shadow Quagsire, but I don't think we're going to be able to swap out just yet, at least not in time before they can reach back-to-back Aqua Tails here. We have the Ace loaded, but I think they have 2 more Aqua Tails here loaded up one after another. All they have to do is click the 2 charge moves buttons, one against my Shadow Quagsire, one against my Mandibuzz, and they'll be able to win this game. It was a very close backline. Would have had a much better chance if they didn't end up calling our bait with our Shadow Quagsire there, but fantastic plays by our opponent. Aqua Tail does end up knocking us out. GG's to them. All right, next match, we're going to see our Melmetal in the lead up against a Mandibuzz. Fantastic lead matchup, especially if they're running the Air Slash variant. Our opponent safe swapping a Serperior. Excuse me? Okay. Well, that's a very good thing to see. I can catch a move on our Mandibuzz. We have so much energy on Melmetal, and I think at this point it is looking very bad for them. Frenzy Plant does end up doing a decent chunk of damage, but nowhere near enough to start threatening our Mandibuzz. They have to land like 4 or 5 more before Mandibuzz is even going to come close to getting knocked out. In comes another charge move here. Our Air Slash damage is doing a lot to them, but I probably do need to land an Aerial Ace if I want any chance of doing real damage to this Pokemon and knocking them out before they can actually reach all those charge moves. Aerial Ace is going to do a lot of damage here, and it is going to put them close to farm down range. Once this is out of the way, I'm hoping that our Quagsire is going to have a little bit more play. Our opponent doesn't even get to another charge move here, and in comes their final Pokemon. They are ABA weak to Melmetal. It's a Dewgong. That's fantastic to see. If I can swap out now, I will back to my Melmetal. We have so much energy here. We just need to start spamming out charge moves and knocking out this Ice-type Pokemon. This is going to do a lot of damage if they end up letting it go. They do let it go, but I know I can reach another charge move here in just a second and shield up any attack they're going to throw against us. Double Iron Bash once again going to be thrown. Our opponent likely going to have to shield this, respecting a superpower. They do shield it up, and our opponent at this point realizing not much they can do against our Steel-type Pokemon. All right, next game, Melmetal up against a Jumpluff in the lead. This is what you would think would be a good lead matchup, but honestly, I don't know if we really win that matchup the longer it goes on, and in comes a Shadow Drapion, a Pokemon that honestly I don't really want to see, and unfortunately somehow they CMP a Crunch here, which I don't really know how that happened. They got a zero-turn swap, so you could CMP us, and normally you're supposed to be able to reach the superpower first and swap out, but that is so bad for us, because now we took so much damage on our Melmetal that we are in range where maybe an Energy Ball or something from that Jumpluff could knock us out. That said, we can come in with our Shadow Quagsire, go for a full Mudshot down against this Shadow Drapion, and try our best here to land Stone Edges against that Jumpluff. I know that Stone Edge would do a lot of damage if they end up letting it go, and because we have so much damage here with our Shadow Quagsire, they likely are going to end up shielding. Shadow Quagsire throwing the Stone Edge, our opponent is going to opt to shield up that attack, knowing that it's going to do more damage than anything our Melmetal is going to be able to throw, but I want to land the Stone Edge. I want to get that damage off against this thing, and I want to hope that they'll no-shield this next one. In comes our next Stone Edge. Our opponent is going to have to make a very big call here. Are they going to shield this up, or are they just going to let it go, knowing that it won't knock them out? They do let it go, and that's pretty good for us right now. We can go and try to catch the charge move on our Melmetal, and hopefully use our Shadow Quagsire in the backline. It seems like they're kind of weak to it, so I want to save it for later, just in case we need it. In the back, it's going to be a Morpeko. This Pokemon is something that I'm very happy to have baited out. Our Mandibuzz does not want to see this Shadow Quagsire has enough energy to potentially put in some work here. Superpower does end up drawing the shield, and this is scary. They get a full Thundershock farm down, but we have our Shadow Quagsire with some energy on it, and we know that that Jumpluff in the backline is very low. And comes our next move. This is going to do quite a bit of damage. It won't knock them out because Morpeko is not weak to Water type, but the thing is we have a lot of Mudshot damage, and I want to get as much fast move pressure into this as I can. With that said, if I end up shielding this move, they can then go for another move and knock us out with the Quagsire, then be in electric mode. So I have to no-shield that, and then I have to no-shield this next move on this Morpeko once again, knowing that they are in the dark type mode. Save my shield for the electric type Aura Wheel, and I should be able to win this game after the fact by going for the shield against this next move and aerial acing the Jumpluff later on. Very tricky endgame here, but fortunately, because Morpeko is such a predictable Pokemon, you're able to call when they're throwing the electric and dark type damage and dance around that with Mandibuzz here. It was able to barely squeak out this endgame, despite the fact that they were able to have such a safe swap against us, and Morpeko in the backline normally is going to put in a lot of work against our team. All right, next game, a Shadow Dragonite in the lead. This is a very good lead matchup. We resist the Dragon type damage, but we have to keep in mind that a double Iron Bash probably does not one-shot them here. Unfortunately, Thundershock is not doing too much fast move pressure, but we are able to chip them down, and they don't actually respect a potential Rock Slide here either, which is a little bit crazy. It means we will have to go down shields, but this is totally fine at this point. Melmetal is going to be able to be in full control of this matchup. A lot of the time you see these Dragonite teams, they're going to be ABA weak to our Melmetal, so I want to keep it around. I want to try to win this matchup and keep our Melmetal alive for the backline. In comes an Azumarill. This Pokemon is not going to be a great answer to our Melmetal. This is kind of crazy that they brought this in of all things. How weak do you have to be to our little Steel-type Pokemon to bring in a Bunny here to try to knock us out? With that said, these Thundershocks and Double Iron Bashes are not the most powerful attacks in the game. They are able to survive these charge moves quite a bit, but they are getting whittled down, and I do get to avoid my Mandibuzz into this, which is fantastic for us later on. In comes yet another Double Iron Bash. Our opponent is going to let it go once again, and they are finally going to have a chance to throw a charge move right now. They are at 100 energy, and I'm kind of thinking our Melmetal seems like it's putting in a lot of work here. Might as well double shield, make this a 3-on-1 matchup. Double Iron Bash is going to come through once again. If this gets a shield, it's going to be a very good thing. If it gets no shielded and they survive, that's going to be a little unfortunate because they are going to be able to reach an Ice Beam against our Shadow Quagsire. With that said, we have knocked out 2 Pokemon. We have 3 Pokemon remaining, and the final Pokemon, honestly, one of the trickiest things we could possibly see here, a Ferrothorn in the back. This has access to Thunder, it has access to Power Whip, and these Bullet Seeds are doing a lot of damage to us, and after that Ice Beam, I think they might be able to farm us all the way down. With that said, we draw a shield with an Aqua Tail, and we are able to reach a Stone Edge at the last second here. Our opponent is likely not going to want to shield this, knowing I have my Melmetal in the backline with a potential to reach a superpower later on. We have a Mandibuzz here, which is going to take super effective damage from Thunder, but I think we're going to be in a good spot just because we don't get two-shot because we were so bulky with Mandibuzz. Thunder comes through, it's not quite enough to two-shot us, so at this point, all we need to do is drain all of this thing's energy, go for an Aerial Ace, draw the final shield, and then land a superpower with our Melmetal. If we can do that, we should be able to win this game. Aerial Ace does draw the shield, our opponent is forced to throw a Thunder, they're going to be forced to throw yet another Power Whip after this, so we should be able to win this game as long as they can't reach 2 more Power Whips this game. Our opponent throwing a charge move here. Our Melmetal is almost at a charge move. It is such a spammy Pokemon. We can come in with it and go for a superpower, knocking out this Ferrothorn. Nearly getting a full sweep. That Azu did end up surviving on 1 HP. Quagsire did end up knocking it out, but our Melmetal basically sweeping the entire team. GG's for our opponent. They did not have an answer for our Steel type. All right, next game here. What are we going to see? Melmetal in the lead up against an Empoleon. Okay, very interesting Pokemon to see. This pick is going to have a lot of fast move pressure if they're running Waterfall, but they instantly swap out, so it likely means they're running Metal Claw or a Steel Wing, I guess, is their fast moves, depending on what they wanted to choose. In comes a Goodra Safe Swap, a Pokemon we don't have a hard answer to, but I guess our Melmetal is a pretty good answer into as well. We can go for the Superpower. We have back-to-back and potentially can draw a shield from this Goodra. First one does end up coming through. Our opponent opts to let it go. Second one going to come through right after it is going to be debuffed. It might not be quite enough to knock them out here, but it will put them into farm down range if they do opt to let it go. And now I can come into their Shadow Quagsire, go for a full Mudshot down, and see what they're going to bring in. Unfortunately for us, it's going to be a Shadow Jumpluff, a Pokemon though that is going to take a lot of damage from Stone Edge, so I'm going to bait with this Aqua Tail here. Our opponent is going to have to make a very tough decision. They end up no-shielding it. That is a crazy call by them, a very good call. I'm going to go for yet another bait. At this point, they kind of have to shield, right? Aqua Tail is going to end up getting no-shielded. Crazy stuff. That is terrible. I don't know if we can win this game anymore. I might have to shield this up. I want to land a Stone Edge. I want to draw a shield. This Empoleon in the back line is going to put in a lot of work if I can't get at least one shield from this thing. In comes our next Stone Edge. Hopefully they no-shield once again here. Our opponent is making all of the calls, though, this game. They shield up the Stone Edge perfectly, and because of that, Jumpluff is putting in so much work against our Shadow Quagsire. At this point, though, we have put them down to about half HP. This is a very manageable range for our Mandibuzz, and as long as they don't have Waterfall on that Empoleon, we might be able to close out this endgame still with our Melmetal. In comes an Aerial Ace likely. This move is not going to do too much damage to us, but it is going to chip us down over time, especially with those Fairy Wind fast moves, and it looks like it's going to be Metal Claw here. Luckily, our Melmetal is not going to get knocked out by the fast move pressure, and we should be able to reach 2 superpowers right before they're able to reach 2 Hydro Cannons. First superpower is going to end up getting shielded up, but I think our second one is still going to be able to come close, if not just straight up knock them out. We are not in fast move farm down range from this thing just yet. Hydro Cannon comes through, but they are not at the second we reach the superpower. This is going to either knock them out or put them into farm down range, and Mandibuzz should be able to close out this backline. They do survive it. They do barely reach their next Hydro Cannon here. Very unfortunate that our Melmetal is going to go down, but it's totally fine. Now we can farm them down with our Mandibuzz, go for this Aerial Ace, and potentially knock them out with this next charge move. We have a lot of fast move pressure. If this is not enough to knock them out, we should be able to win the game, but we are able to knock out the Empoleon with the Air Slash. GG's to our opponent. Honestly, a very fun day of sets using this Melmetal. I didn't have a lot of hopes for it when I started out the day. I just wanted to use a bit of a spicier Pokemon, and this thing started to pop off. A lot of teams were triple weak to it sometimes, and because of its unique typing and unique coverage, it is a very interesting pick that maybe one day, if Double Iron Bash gets buffed, it could be a very solid Pokemon in Great League. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I would appreciate it so much. But thank you again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.